So it's been a while. This is something I'm going to be doing differently on my YouTube channel, is not just showing you workouts, but giving you things that is going to help you feel better in the gym. And if you're an athlete, great, because what I'm also doing is, if you don't even have to be an athlete, is I do assessment-based training. So I would throw you through an assessment. Obviously, it'd be online, and it's going to show me a lot of information. So what I'm looking for is mobility. The best I could do is we'll see what stability is like, and then strength, and then we're looking at left to right, from, like, for example, left arm to right arm, left leg to right leg, and I'm looking for imbalances. But there's a whole, like, structure that we would go through, and that's, you know, what I want to do online, is be able to deliver that to you. But today, for this purpose of this video, is we're going to go over squats and overhead press. I picked these two because, one, squat was hard for me just because of the restrictions that I felt. So if you have a bar on your back with no weight and you try squatting that, how do you feel? Most likely you're going to feel off balance. That's how I felt, and there's things that we could do to make that start feeling better. Most people say, yes, I need weight to start feeling more balanced with doing a back squat. But when it comes to really dialing in and knowing your body, we can't just avoid that. There's things that it's telling us during that squat with no load that there's some imbalances, some stability, mobility going on that we got to address. So that's what you're going to be getting a lot in this video. And also, we're going to go over the overhead press, just because overhead press is a big limiting lift when it comes to pressing. It shows a lot of structural imbalances, because when we do overhead press, we see stability in core, but also we see shoulder stability, and we see where's the arm angle at during the overhead press. A lot of times we see it out in front of the body because we lack external rotation. Maybe we have some pec tightness or lat tightness, so we want to create more mobility there. So that's what we're going to go through in the video today. Is I'm going to demonstrate squatting the bar, no weight, and kind of talking you through about, like, how are you supposed to feel. Like, for me, when I get under the bar, I want to feel balanced with 45 pounds on my back, and that's going to tell a lot. If you don't feel balanced, then there's some things that we got to go through, and that's just the type of coach I am. I know all these coaches are different, and that's cool, and I respect that. But for me, like, I'm more assessment based, and my goal is to create more longevity and to lower the risk of injury. That's what I want to do. And I'm not saying that we're going to prevent injury. I'm saying that we're going to lower that risk. So if you're an athlete, and I really hope you are, because I used to be one and I miss it, and I'm playing a lot of golf right now. I just started, so I'm seeing my game improve just by getting better mobility. So if we could really just focus on getting your body right through proper range of motion and getting mobility better. Obviously, mobility gets better, range of motion gets better. Range of motion gets better, we're able to strengthen those new ranges and then keep that area to being feeling how it should be. Can't talk right now. So I believe this 100%. Everybody's body's different, and the way that you handle load is different. Everybody handles stress differently. So, like, the body is such a freak in nature thing that we're still figuring out till this day. And the body will lock up due to a lot of different reasons, meaning poor diet, right? Everyday life, meaning your occupation. If you're an athlete, what are you doing? What are the frequent movement patterns you're doing? And the list could go on, but those things are what I ask myself: is diet. What does your everyday life look like? Are you in an activity such as a sport? And that's things that I look at. So I start seeing the body start opening up better when the diet's clean. There's no processed junk in there that's going to cause inflammation and cause the body to tighten up, so you're unable to go full range on a movement. Because think about it, as an athlete, am I going to tell you to go partial or not full range on a movement? No, your body's just going to react. So, like, me as a coach, like, I'm thinking about getting you strong throughout the full range of that joint instead of partial. Partials we could work on later on, but I want to get you strong, full range first before we start playing with any of that. And remember, you're not a bodybuilder, you're not an Olympic athlete, and if you are, then that's a different story. And again, I still want to get you strong, full range, and then we could play with a bunch of other stuff when it comes to doing movement. But as an athlete, your goal is to get strong during for full range first, and then we could play with stuff. But today I just want to talk to you that before we go into like the movements, we're going to start with squat, and I'm going to show you if your squat's feeling restricted, and I highlighted 2 points. If hips are usually a big one, and ankle mobility. So we're going to go over those on what we could do to get feel better in hip mobility and feel better in ankle mobility. And then also, if chest is restricted too, I'm going to show you how to stretch that. Get an extra rotation position, or at least hand on bar while the bar's on my back. I feel restricted. Could be because this muscle's pulling me forward and I'm having a hard time gripping that bar. So pec minor would play a role in that too. So we're going to go over that stuff. And then overhead press. I picked overhead press just because it's just a fun ass lift, and if you get strong in this lift, every other push is going to get stronger. Overhead press has a lot of things that go involved, body parts that get involved. So pecs tight, lats tight. That's going to make the movement a lot harder than it is. And most of the time when we see those muscles tight during that movement, they're going to restrict you, and you're going to do the movement incorrectly, meaning maybe going in extension. So put the lower back at risk, and now you're hitting more upper part of the chest instead of like the entire deltoid. So we want to make sure when we do that lift, we're doing it correctly. Underneath the bar, right now I'm just doing body weight, 45 pounds actually, and just trying to feel it out and just trying to be balanced, because most of the time when we get under the bar and we have no weight on there, we feel off balance, and that's just your body telling you like, what is it that you got to work on. That's something that I believe in. So mobility, ankle mobility, usually people lack that. They start falling forward even more when they start squatting down or their feet start turning out. So you'll see a visual right here is pay attention to my knees when I go down. Like they actually rotate out, making sure that my knees do not cave in. And I'm trying to resist spinal flexion at the bottom. So I feel like I have maybe a little bit tight psoas muscle, so I need to get that released. Because if you go back, you see I have more of like maybe a little butt wink. But other than that, here we go into an overhead press. Something that I see a lot of people do is they go in an extension, they put their lower back at risk, and the bar's not stacked above their head. Just like now, we fixed it. I'm focused on a good brace, keeping my ribs as down as much as possible, and driving my head through as I push through that weight. So that bar should be stacked above my shoulders for an overhead press. So I'm gonna use like a heavy band here. You can look up like TheraBands or whatever on Amazon. You'll find some. This is a heavier band. I usually tie this against like the rack or the beam, but there's music playing out there, and I don't want YouTube to copyright me for music, which is ridiculous. So I have to be in here, and this is fine. I'm just gonna demonstrate a little bit. So what we're gonna do here is I want to increase knee over toe, and I want to break up the talus a little bit. So there's this talus tendon or ligament, one of the two, get my foot up here, on top, like the ankle, and where the tibia meet. Tibial, I forgot the anatomy name of it. I should know that. But anyway, we want to break this part up. So how we're going to do that is I'm going to put the band around my lower part of my foot and ankle. So I'm going to do this. And what I'm going to do is I want to drive my knee over my toe as much as I can. So I'm going to just floss in it. I'm not going to bring it that much because I don't want to pull this, I don't want to break this table. So right here, and all I'm doing is, which is what I would have you do, is kind of just hold that band there, put some pressure, and just floss it. Drive that knee back and forth. We're just trying to break up that talus, going back and forth. This is how I'd have a lot of my people. If you really want to increase ankle mobility and get there a little bit faster, I do this. And then also I program like seated calf work with like a squat parrot. So seated calf for like 15 to 20 reps. Kind of heavy, you're just focusing on getting a stretch, and then you go right into a squat. You should feel like your ankle mobility is getting better every time, so something like that. So I do this kind of back and forth, switch it. You'll notice that one leg might be better than the other. We're gonna go over hips and a stretch for the calves, and then a stretch for the chest. Super easy. And this is what I do. The lats one, I don't have something we could do with lats right now at the moment, but you will see that one. For the video's sake, I'm gonna show you how to do chest, and then hips, ankle, which is calf related. So what we're gonna do is first hips, we're gonna do 90-90 stretch. We're gonna do an internal stretch, active, and then we're gonna do a elephant walk for the calves, and then we could PNF the elephant walk for the calves. And then I'll show you how to stretch your pec minor too, and yeah, we'll go from there too. And then I forgot, I'm gonna probably use this vlogging stick that I have right here. But when we want to check to see if lats or chest are tight, what you could do is you could lay down and make sure, try to just let your arms fall back. And right now, for me, my right side's gotten a lot better, but a little bit chest for me. So if chest was tight, I usually see this when I see people, when I assess people, their arms are like this. But if their lats are tight, I see a lot of bend in the elbow. Just make sure, the goal is to get your arms down to the ground, but without going in extension. So I could get close to the ground if I'm in extension, but when I put my ribs down, lower back into the ground, my arms are a little bit higher off the ground, and that's where we see a true reading in shoulder flexion. So my right arm is a little bit tighter than my left, and it's due to pec minor. So this is how you check yourself. You could constantly test, retest, once you start doing more of these stretches. Okay, first one we're gonna go over is 90-90. So this is hips. This is particularly for external rotation of the hip. And how we could check external rotation of the hip is if you lay down on your back. It's called like a Faber test. Put your leg above your knee and just see where does this stop at. A lot of people, when they just have it here, they get stuck here. The goal is to be able to let it relax and get at least 2 fists above your knee, okay? Or the floor, sorry. So this is testing abduction, hip flexion, and seeing external rotation. So this is how you could test on yourself. If I was there for you, I would grab your leg and try to bring your leg as much as external rotation as I can passively. So that's the help of someone else. Obviously, you can't do that by yourself. So what we could do is get in a 90-90 stretch for hips. And how that looks is 90-degree here, 90-degree here. If I'm doing my left leg, my left arm is my kickstand. And I want to think about moving at my hips. I'm hinging at my hips. And I'm thinking, trying to push my chest over my leg as much as possible without doing any roundness of my back. And what I'm doing is I'm just flossing this, kind of just going back and forth. I'm not holding a stretch, kind of going back and forth. What you could do is PNF it so it gets to a point. Now I'm PNFing it as me trying to drive my leg through this floor, like I'm pushing this floor and making like a hole, or pushing the earth away from me. And then once I push it for 8 to 10 seconds, deep breath, relax, see if you could get a little bit deeper without rounding your back. So I'll show you from the side view. A lot of times when people do this, they round, so they start going like this, just because they care about how deep they're going. Right now, I'm not really stretching my hip. I'm stretching more my hip when I feel like I'm hinging a lot more, so I'm trying to keep my back from not rounding. That's this one. So these are gonna be your best friend too. Recommend like rolling them first, rolling your glutes first. And then you do got like a seated internal rotation stretch, so just kind of going back and forth, back and forth, And this is the leg I'm stretching, internal rotation, right here. Okay, this next one we're doing is a sideline stretch for pec minor. I want you to see it from this view and from here. And all I'm doing is going above my head and just turning my head. I'm not dropping my body. Turning my head, moving my shoulder, and my arm should be at like 45-degree angle. I'm going to try to reach and flex. This is flexion, extension at the wrist. Extension, trying to push my palm, and then relax. Do it again. Pushing through my palm, relax. This is actually stretching your pec minor, which is great. This changed the game for me when it came to overhead press. So right arm, you saw, was tighter, and it is. Go here. Just trying to push through my palm, and relax. Do it again. You could hold this stretch for a while, so if you're not training and you have an off day, you could hold this for a long time. But if I'm training, I'm doing like 3 of these, meaning here's my beginning, and then I hit this again, hit it again, and trying to get closer to the ground as possible, like 8-second holds. So 8-second hold, relax, let my arm drop, 8-second hold, relax, 8-second hold, relax. All right, I'm to the ground. I'm balanced through my left and my right side. I do this one every single day for the calves, but if the calves are tight, again, they're attached to your Achilles, right? And when they're tight, they're gonna inhibit knee over toe, because when I do knee over toe, the calf stretches. So if your calf's tight, it's gonna restrict this movement as well. So a good one you could do is elephant walks, which is hips to the sky a little bit, and you're just kind of alternating back and forth. So I'm pushing my foot, my right foot into the ground, alternate, pushing in the foot, feel stretch, and then alternate about 25 reps. And just going back and forth. I could PNF this, meaning find a point where I feel like it's stretching. So my right leg, pay attention to my right leg. So I feel stretch here. I'm going to try to push my heel down for 8 seconds. Trying to push through that floor. Deep breath. Relax. Could I get deeper? Yes. I'm sliding my foot a little further back. Stretch. 8 seconds. Once you get to 8 deep breath, relax. So you're stopping that contraction of the calf. So I'm going to increase again. So that's PNF. That's like the right way to stretch, because before you work out, you're getting ready to shorten and lengthen your muscle repeatedly. That's a little tongue twister for myself. So when you stretch, you're not trying to do static stretching where you hold a stretch for a long period of time, because one, you're going to elongate those muscles, and then you're going to use those nutrients that those muscles had stored for later usage during your training. So active stretching, where you're going back and forth, actively stretching, flossing that movement or that specific area, and then, or you got PNF. PNF is what you're just seeing there, and there's a different ways of PNF an area that you want to increase your range fast, because it's a form of contraction type of stretching. So it's safe before you train. And this is how I have all my clients stretch, is if they want to open something up pretty fast, we try PNF, and most of the time it works. Usually it doesn't work when maybe the diet is not clean, so body's really inflamed. We're gonna have a harder time opening that area up. So yes. So before I end the video, I do want to talk about the overhead press. So in the beginning, it shows me pressing, and my hands aren't stacked above my shoulders. I'm like pushing away from my body, and I'm going in extension, meaning my ribs are lifting up and my lower back is arching, and I'm putting my lower back at risk. That's what we don't want to do. When we go in extension and we press and we're actually getting stacked above our shoulders, we're actually working upper part of the pec. And that's not good. And we're not trying to hit that. Like the upper pec will get involved, but we're looking to hammer the deltoid. So all 3 heads of the shoulder are getting involved. And overhead press is by far one of the limited lifts for every individual if their mobility isn't right. Yeah, you heard it here first, but it's true. And standing overhead press is a lot harder because it shows a lot of weaknesses, which is cool. Like it shows stability in the core. I think I went over this, but it's important. It shows stability in the core, shows shoulder stability. It shows usually mid-range. We see a harder time trying to lock out. So usually it's a tricep shoulder issue, obviously. And when we go a little bit heavier, we start seeing a lot more happening within the body. So challenge yourself. Overhead press, again, you get your overhead press stronger and focus on full range. So meaning all the way down here and all the way through where my hand is stacked above my shoulder, right? That's the goal, is when I do a press, my hands are stacked. Let me see if you can see it right here. Are stacked above my shoulders, right? I'm not here and I'm not arching my back. I'm keeping ribs down and I'm bracing. So like when we focus on an overhead press like that, like you will get stronger. And I've seen my presses get stronger just because my overhead lift gotten stronger. So yeah. Okay, we came to the end of the video. I hope you got a lot out of this. Again, just getting started again. And I know I'm going to be a little rusty when it comes to giving information, but I felt pretty good about this one, honestly. And I'm just trying to keep it simple with myself and with you. I don't want to give too much, and I don't want to try to talk in a fashion of all these different words that you don't know. So I want to keep it simple when it comes to doing movement, stretching, whatever it is. So again, if you stick around for the whole video, I appreciate you as always, and make sure you do subscribe and leave a comment below. Greatly appreciate that. And there will be coming more videos. I'm going to be digging up some topics on what you're looking for, and yeah, we'll go from there. I appreciate you as always, appreciate the view, and yeah, make sure you do subscribe.